Hey guys, what's going on? In this video today, we're going to talk on strategy. There's a lot of examples out there on how to not tank a project or a gene. Really cool video coming up. Let's get into it. Hey guys, what's going on? Will here, Flawless Exotic Creations, coming to you guys with another video. And today's video is going to be pretty interesting. So we've been posting quite a bit on Instagram as well as here on YouTube. Check out some of our shorts here and some of our reels on YouTube. On Instagram. And we actually get a lot of inbox. There's still a lot of people getting into the ball python game. We're super excited about that. We love all the messages we get, whether it's from a video that we previously did. We put out pretty much everything. We try to be transparent about everything. And as you guys know, if you've been watching us for a while, we've done quite a bit of videos. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button. Go check out our several playlists and go down that rabbit hole. Really fun. We're authentic and give it to you how it is. But you'll probably stumble across a video or two where we talk about new genes. And new genes just being a blanket statement, whether or not you want to really work a gene, whether you want to, and that could be a whatever dinker gene you may have or think you may have. There's a lot of thought that needs to go into that. We talk and harp on infrastructure. Is needed, whether we're talking about feeding rodents, whether you're short and you can't even feed your collection, or it's infrastructure as far as tub space. Housing, how are you going to house everything? How are you going to hold back? How are you going to step up your collection? What's your next breeder to come into the line? What are you going to do when certain snakes hit a certain size? Are you able and capable of withstanding a new gene in your collection the quote-unquote right way? Disclaimer, we're not the pros at this. We're just giving you our perspective and our opinion. But there's a lot of good, if not great, examples out there in the market already. Whether you like some of the people who discovered certain genes or not, maybe you didn't like the business side of it. That's fine as well. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But sitting back, looking at some of, I guess, the general information on some of the widely available genes, how they came to be popular now, how they were introduced into the market, and there's tons of examples. If you guys know of any, put them down in the comments. Let's talk about it in the comments. The pros, the cons, the do's, the don'ts. Top of the list, honestly, Canova, Justin, is definitely someone to look up to in the industry. Look back a couple videos ago, we put out a video about hating big breeders. I think a lot of people's success may make individuals indirectly dislike them. It sucks that, it's human nature. Like I said in that video, we have emotions and we get emotional. And when you mix that with unsuccessful seasons and life decisions, there's a lot of things where it's a natural feeling to want to point the finger at someone else. So in this video, we want to kind of jump into that a little bit. One of the examples that's in the present, look at Cosmos. I'm sure there's a lot of people that, have the gene. Maybe you have a piece of the gene where it's just one snake in your collection. But look at how Justin's pretty much rolling that out. And everyone gets upset because it's a money grab. There's a lot of accusations on, cornering the market. Unfortunately, guys, and this is one of the things where in a future video, we were talking to one of actually our followers, one of our Patreon members as well. It's not really a popular video that we really want to do, but it's a harsh reality when you're doing this as a hobby versus an actual business. And we are nowhere near where Justin is. But when you're running a full-fledged business with employees, I mean, you have several employees where their salary is taking care of their own household. You have employees underneath them that care for the animals. You're the brains behind it. You're the money behind it. Decisions need to be made at times. Some are going to be smart and some are not. That being said, every decision you make, the outcome can affect your business in a huge way. So you're up there when you're guys like that, you're making $1 million decisions left and right. You're going to approach that differently if all of those things are not on the line. We were asked actually to do a video on vending. How will we approach vending small shows, local shows versus vending large shows, NARBC or Daytona, shows of that magnitude? And I think we are probably the wrong people to do that video. We may revisit that, Audrey and myself, and talk about it and see how we could present it and give it to the people, because our vision is so different. Our vision is extremely on the offbeat path, the unwalked path. You know, there is never a show we go to, big, small, it doesn't matter. We're like, all right, we're going to the show and we need to make X amount of dollars. That's irrelevant. We're going to these shows to have fun, network, meet and greet. We don't care if we goose egg the show or we bring home $5,000. Like, it's irrelevant. And that is not the common mindset. So again, that's a whole nother tangent. We may talk about that, Audrey and myself, as far as putting that video out there, but that's where we stand on that. Our mindset and thought process is ours. And we've gotten to this point through pretty much collectively choosing different entrepreneurs, mentors that we follow. The Bob Boos, the Ozzies, the Will, RCR, Billy, Mutation Creation, you know, and Justin. You know, one of the things that we love about Ozzy is that he has a very boutique style collection. We like that about Ozzy. Ozzy doesn't vend shows at all. We want to vend only pretty much the network and hang out with the community. That's our spin on it. Justin, he doesn't vend a whole bunch of shows. You know, I don't want to pocket watch, but honestly, look at how he runs his business. If he's the pinnacle for some people of the industry, you're talking about, what will he do? 4 or 5 shows a year? A lot of the time he's going to bring maybe a few snakes for sale, but that's not his main goal. He's actually losing money attending these shows, paying someone to drive out, him and his team flying out. You know, you got to compensate, you know, 4 or 5 of your team members, you know, their time away from home, your time away from home, you know, plane tickets if you're flying in, flying out, you know, table costs for the venue. You know, that one $10,000 snake sale isn't even going to cover all of that. It's just not. Especially when you mix that with the fact that him at his caliber can do way more than that between Monday and Friday during the week before a show. But again, that's a whole nother tangent to go down. So when we start talking back on topic about new jeans, a lot depends on your infrastructure you're feeding and so on. And ideally with a smaller collection, can you work a new jean? Absolutely. But where's your scale? And the reason I bring scale into the picture is because if, for example, I have one ARS or Freedom Beater rack, is 40 tubs. I have a nice Hatchland rack. I got a good base, a good infrastructure, and I decide to go down that rabbit hole of bringing in an import or buying one from one of the big importers. Outback Reptiles tends to have a lot of nice animals, and you start chasing that project, working that project. Even if you start with a female, if you start with a male, now basically, again, whether it proves out or not, this is the road you head down. Now, you breed that let's say female, you produce 6 babies. Let's say 3 of them inherit the gene. And again, I'll put a little spin on it at the end as well. But 3 carry the gene. Now, those 3 that carry the gene, male, female, don't really matter. You're holding back. Whatever combinations you put them in with whatever you bred them to. You still got base minimum, if it's female, 2 more years to grow those out. Minimum year and a half to grow your male out if you hatch out a male out of that clutch. So now you move forward to the next year. If that same female goes for you, here it is, you're 3 years into that gene, building it up. Now, let's fast forward a little bit, 5, 6, 7 years into that gene. You have several males now. You have a nice collection of females, but your infrastructure is not going to withstand that because now you're going to have basically 40 tubs of this gene at different sizes, hatchling, grow outs, juveniles, breeders, while you work this gene. Everything else, let's say you moved out or whatever you ended up doing with it, but now you have this unknown gene that you're working, that you can see how it mixes with this or mixes with that in certain combos, and you nail it. And you see that it's obviously genetic, and you're lucky enough that it's incomplete dominant and carrying over in that manner. But after all this work, and this can very well happen 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years down the road, you did all of that to know that this was just an imported version of an existing gene on the market. Okay, it may be one of the other genes that's out on the market, a different type of Enchi, a different type of fire, whatever it may be. But you did all that work to figure it out, which is really, really honorable, number one, but it's dedication. It's a lot of dedication there. And now it gets absorbed into the existing gene. The crazy part of that is what I did not put out there as far as to consider. If you're really, even as a hobbyist or as a business, if you go that route, how do you gauge your growth to scale? Because obviously if you're holding back all of these animals just to figure out what you got on your hand, that means you can't sell them. You can't sell them. You need to pretty much, corner that gene, isolate that gene, see how it mixes with Mojave and Clown, and see what it's doing with certain combinations to figure it out. Therefore, you're not going to have the production nor the space, which is your infrastructure, to truly work said gene unless your goal is not to sell absolutely anything. You're not worried about an income from selling your miss, the animals you missed on or anything like that. So you have to be very, very focused. You can do it with a smaller collection, but you need to make sure that your focus is in the right area. Make sure that you have no intentions on making immediate, monetary gratification, because there's not going to be any if you do it properly. People that were looking for Cosmos, I brought that up earlier. For quite some time, there was none available. And when it was available, on the blacklist, on the dark web where you were able to locate it, you were talking big figures, 25 grand, 20 grand. And you had to be on that need to know list to get your hands on it. So it's cool if you can do that, that's fine. But again, that was already someone that kind of proved it out as a gene, it proved it to be genetic, and then they pretty much can charge pretty much whatever people are willing to pay for it. And that's a whole nother video as well. So where did all this conversation come from? So we harp on talking not necessarily against new genes, but we talk constantly about new business, business ownership, respect your business, and entrepreneurship where you can grow. And if you're trying to grow and build your infrastructure and everything up from the ground, then you need to make sure that, number one, you're getting into projects you like, but also things that's going to allow you to grow into it. And personally, I think a breeder that's looking for some type of return on investment, your ROI, you're going to have to be able to sell something. And if your entire rack that you're using to breed, your grow outs, everything is all tied up into a potential gold mine, for lack of a better expression, business wise. You won't be able to sell any of that for years, maybe a decade. And that's the harsh reality. We get a lot of questions just this past week because we had two series. Go check them out. Two What's in the Box series, where we do our hatchling reveals from certain clutches that we're having. Right now, I think we just put the 22nd clutch into the incubator for season 2. Into the incubator. So we did these two hatchling reveals pretty much back-to-back weeks. And thankful enough, shout out to Tyler. Tyler's Toxic Balls, really, really good friend of ours. Talk to him pretty frequently. And we were networking with him at a show. And we saw an unbelievable snake. I'm sure you guys, if you watch this channel, you've heard us talk about it for a while. The snake had God wrote on it pretty much in its pattern several times up and down the snake. And the only genes at play at the time was yellow belly and double het clown pied. That was it. And I'm like, no. And what was really, really cool and good to see, another good point as far as for shows, is its sibling, full size sibling comparative to her, was in the display next to her. And both of them were yellow belly double hets. And the one we chose obviously was drastically different. Something crazy going on with her. And I'm happy we ended up choosing her. Come to find out, thankfully enough, that Tyler is a good buddy of ours. We got so much information afterward from him on his source on that line. He has a bunch from that line. They're working it really, really serious. And that's another gene that's in development. So it's the toxic gene. It's not our gene, but I'm happy we're into it right now. And again, it's a phase where maybe down the road we'll figure it out and it ends up being something else. That's part of doing the research, part of doing your due diligence. And for us, we're going to be holding on to everything coming from that gene. It's still early stages of that gene. Actually, Tyler did not want to sell her to us. It was actually Tyler's Toxic Balls is owned by Tyler and his dad, and when they were vending, his dad packed it up and brought it to the show when he probably shouldn't have. So you got to watch out for stuff like that as well. Anyway, I go down that rabbit hole to let you guys know I'm not trying to sell any of that gene. So I'm not trying to market it as this is this gene that's on the market, but I'm gonna spin it, put a new name on it, and it's not even our gene. It's something that we're lucky and blessed enough to kind of jump into in the earlier stages, and we'll be pushing and moving forward, working that project into several different recessives and other codoms. Now, lead us on to the following week where we did a really, really catchy name. It came from, shout out my man KG, gave us the idea. We talk amongst the community a lot via text messages, inbox, whatever it may be. And he gave me the idea because I kept saying chainsaw, chain linking, and he said, "Oh man, that's a killer name, Chainsaw." He said, "And the super should be the Chainsaw Massacre." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm running with it." So that's where that gene came about. Is because again, getting into it, we purchased year one a female that was from a breeder that was getting out. And we purchased her as a Dinker Fire Pod. And come to find out, we bred her last year to our Inchy Ultra Male Pod. And we didn't get all pods, which again, this is part of the research side of genes that tells us what? She's not a visual pod. We thought we were dealing with one of them 99% coverage. So now go back to the drawing board of keeping good records and notes. We wrote down and notated that she's not pod, she's actually het pod. So that little bit of pod pattern on her is actually just pod ringer, which is cool. So she's a Dinker Fire Het pod. Now goes into season 2 with her, and from season 1 we had 2 holdbacks, which both ended up being female. They have decent size on them now. We've shown them off previously. That carried that same chain linking chainsaw pattern from mom. So they're holdbacks. We wish one of them was a male, but we weren't blessed, and it is what it is. But this year we came in and hit a home run. So we bred that same female mom to our spot nose Orange Dream Desert Ghost male. So that means basically everything in the clutch is going to be Het DG and 50% Het Pied, which again, certain ones will send out and get tested for pied because we can tie it back in with mom as well as the daughters. The further we go down the road, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, we could start making some combos with this chainsaw gene and see how it interacts with certain genes. So what did we learn this year? Well, along with everything else, you know, the chainsaw gene as well as the fire gene, we tied in Orange Dream and Spot Nose into it, and we had some very, very impressive results. We actually ended up hatching out Orange Dream, Spot Nose, Fire, Chainsaw, Het DG, 50% Het Pied male. We showed him off on Instagram. We're going to send that shed in. Hopefully he tests positive for Het Pied, so that will be a blessing. We also have several other holdbacks from that clutch if you go back to check out that what's in the box video. So again, I'm just said all of this to hopefully bring the community together. We can definitely use all the positive vibes. We appreciate you guys watching us this long. Hit that subscribe button if you need some positive content, positive vibes in your life. Follow us. We're trying to lead the way, do our best, do the best that we can. We don't really want to put out any negativity whatsoever. So we want, from our perspective, to show you why we're putting out videos like this, why we're moving the way we move, and why we're doing what we do. So again, none of this stuff theoretically is going to be for sale, which goes back to the infrastructure in this video. We work so many projects and we have a rather large collection to be beginner breeders that it allows us, no matter if we hit entire clutches of holdbacks, we're always going to have clutches where we're going to miss on something. No one hits their goal with every single clutch time and time again. So you're going to have animals that you can actually offer up for sale, and those animals may in return help you guys or anyone else step their programs up when they become available. If you find any of this information useful at all, hit that subscribe button. We'll be coming back with you with these videos week to week to week. It's Will, Flawless Exotic Creations, and we are out.